now recording.
And welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook, and now live on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit and YouTube. Search for Pride of Detroit as we come to you every week with the Pride of Detroit PODcast. With all those places we told you. Download the podcast, the PODcast, from Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get podcasts. It's there. It's ready for you. And as always, live. And I am Chris Perfett, your adequate host, and the producer of the Pride of Detroit PODcast. At Chris Perfett on Twitter. The titles change, the man stays the same. And we're going to bring you the best 1+ hours of Lions talk you're going to find anywhere. And as always with me is the fearless leader and the editor-in-chief, the EIC of Pride of Detroit, Jeremy Reisman, the fearless mustache. Hello, Jeremy.
Almost escaped the intro without the mustache.
No.
It's part of me now, I guess. Although it might not be. It might not be anymore. We'll see.
We have some news coming about that. You have time, ladies and gentlemen, to try to save the stash if you're watching live on Twitch. And as always, the third man, the man, senior editor, Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD. Ryan, how we doing, buddy?
I feel like I belong to an entirely different company.
Why is that?
All of these official titles that are being thrown around.
I know,
and you're doing it all correctly too. So I mean, like, who is this new Chris?
Well, who is this new Chris is someone who's decked out in Tigers gear because on Thursday it's opening day, baby. The Tigers are back. I don't know if it's good again, but they're back.
If you think it's good again, I think it might be.
I was gonna say I may have taken the over at 67.5 wins.
Hey, okay,
maybe
that is actually a good bet. Props to Bobata King 69. That is actually a fairly sound futures bet. I like it.
Yeah,
it'll keep things entertaining for a month, I would say.
The Detroit Tigers. They can't be that bad, can they?
Hey,
it's like that's the tagline for all Detroit sports.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of another team that can't be that bad, the Detroit Lions. Real quick, before we get on there, one more piece of housekeeping. Jeremy mentioned the mustache, so if you're watching on Twitch, he'll say something about that during a break, I'm sure. One more bit of news, though. ESPN reporter Mike Rothstein, longtime friend of the PODcast, he has posted today that he is moving on. He is joining the ESPN beat on the Atlanta Falcons, starting, I think, in like a week or two, Jeremy, or
something
next
like
month.
That. Yeah, his last day with the Lions was this week, so he is officially done with the Lions beat. Moving on to Atlanta Falcons beat. Has some big shoes to fill over there, but it's a I know most people know Mike Rothstein for some abrasive questions, I guess, in press conferences and some certain feuds with head coaches and things like that. But the part that you didn't see behind the scenes, the guy that showed up every day to work and worked his butt off and spent every minute in the locker room doing something productive, which is more than I could say. He was a good person to have on the beat. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and he's been fantastic, and he is a friend of the podcast. He's a joy when we have him on. He's genuinely one of my favorite people on Twitter. I'm already seeing him posting about the Falcons, and I intend to keep following him. And yeah, we wish him nothing but the best in Atlanta. And one more bit of Mike news, but I'm going to save that as a tease for the end of the podcast. You're going to have to listen to the end of the podcast about what else is going on with Mike. But we move on and we begin the show. Let's get into it. Last I think we met, actually, it didn't turn into a podcast. I didn't actually post it on the podcast feed. I probably should have, but myself, Jeremy, and Eric Schlitt, the managing editor of Friday Detroit, I believe it was Wednesday, and we had a powwow about the Jared Goff contract restructure, where Jared Goff is now locked into. The Lions are now locked into a few more years of Jared Goff, at least when it comes to the cap. And there's been some consternation, scub, and people concerned about that. We addressed all of that, and Jeremy had us play buy or sell in a lot of different parts of that conversation. So I feel like we should, if you guys have any final points to bring up about Jared Goff's contract, I think now is the time before we just close the book on this entirely.
Yeah,
Ryan, if you haven't gotten takes, Jeremy, if you still have something to discharge, let's hear it.
I was going to toss it to Ryan because he was one that, I think you warmed to the idea as, maybe the financial situation became more clear, but you were one that was kind of not too enthusiastic about that potentially happening. So I'm just kind of curious where you're at with it.
Yeah, initially, the thing with the Jared Goff restructure was it locked you in. And I didn't want to necessarily be locked into Jared Goff because it felt like that wasn't where the Lions needed to take him. They didn't need to add additional years where they could keep him. They needed to keep their options open. And I think that's something that they've done with all of their other free agent signings this offseason, is that they're all like 1-year deals. Yeah. They're all on like prove it contracts. And that really opens up their options and their ability to, restructure their roster. And restructuring Jared Goff's contract just definitely it ran contrary to that. And then the rest of the then I should say that the offseason started to take shape, and it started to become more of a necessity than something that you could avoid doing if you wanted to field a competitive team in 2021. And there's the snag, right? Is that a lot of people will think, well, you didn't want to be competitive in 2021. There's no way that you're going to hire people like Dan Campbell, and you're going to hire the rest of that coaching staff, and you're going to bring in a quarterback like Jared Goff, because the Lions had options to take other deals that didn't include taking a quarterback like Jared Goff back in return. But guess what? The Lions are going to try to win football games in 2021. And I think in order for the Lions to do that, they needed the cap space. And it doesn't lock you into Jared Goff in the way that I kind of thought it would in the beginning. So I've grown a little bit warmer to the idea of the restructure, just because of cap constraints and, the direction of this team for this year.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because I think we talked about it, Jeremy. It would only be about $10 million in dead cap if they do cut him at some point. And guess what? The Lions right now are dealing with about $20 million when it comes to Matt Stafford.
Right.
So it's not that big. And then I agree with you, Ryan, in that, like, I went on a rant during that stream that tanking is different in the NFL because you want to get more picks. Like, your position in the first round really shouldn't matter as much, and you lose a lot more by just making your roster crap. It's harder to dig out of it.
Yeah. And I mean, the Lions are still definitely taking their lumps this year. They're definitely putting themselves in a tough position by, cutting 7 of the 8 guys that we labeled as cap casualties, taking over $40 million in dead cap this year. And so they are kind of towing both lines, and I think that's probably what we should have expected, because when you're building a culture around, positivity and everyone working together, the worst thing I think you can do is start it off with, a 1-16 season or something like that, and lose the message in your very first year taking over. So I think it all makes sense. It was an unnecessary evil, and like Chris said, it's a $10 million cap hit if you get out after 2 years, and that was probably the exit point anyway. So it's costing you an extra $10 million in 2023 and an extra $5 million next year. Big deal.
I'm also gonna keep beating this drum about, hey, what if Jared Goff is actually like
Yeah,
better
I mean
than he
that's
was
that's
at
the
end in
one thing
LA.
we also have. Like everyone's just assuming he's gone after 2 years. There's a chance he's actually kind of good. I mean, he did take a team to a Super Bowl, and yes, it wasn't just him. And yes, Sean McVay probably deserves a bunch of credit for that. And yes, we can't ignore the past 2 years after that. But it's kind of there's a precedent here. You can win with Jared Goff, so maybe they will.
Yeah.
Maybe they will.
Yeah, and why is it all like Jared Goff's fault that it fell apart in LA, but all Sean McVay's fault that they got to a Super Bowl? How's that work?
Good question.
I don't know. Thanks, Ryan. No, that's it's interesting how it's panned out. So we'll have to see what's all going to happen afterwards. But we had some big news over last week too that we haven't touched on the podcast yet. I know you guys talked about it on Locker Room, and I haven't got to bite this apple too about that the top of this order, the top 10 of the NFL draft has been completely shaken up. San Francisco is now at 3. Miami originally traded down to about 12, and then they traded back up, swapping out with Philadelphia. Eagles fans are going psychotic, but I am more interested to see. I'm interested in what it's changed at the top, because I think we're all in consensus. San Francisco, you're moving up to get a quarterback. You're not moving up for a tackle. Come on.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 1-3 locked in for a quarterback, and I don't know what Miami's going to do.
Yeah, that's a big question. And it's one we tried to answer on our Locker Room session. And if you didn't hear that or you weren't part of it, definitely go back and listen to it. But it's interesting because they'll have a lot of different options, and they have, a lot of different holes. The whole Tua talk has been a thing, and it seems like if you're trading out of that 3 spot, you're probably not that interested in grabbing a quarterback, so I wouldn't expect a quarterback to be there. But what if one unexpectedly drops? Maybe they're like, well, we didn't expect this to happen, but since it fell in our lap, maybe let's try it. And then, they could certainly use a bunch of wide receivers or receiving threats, and they're probably going to have at least 2 or 3 available for them there at 6. Offensive line is definitely a need, so they could take a tackle. I mean, maybe that's just it. Maybe they just knew there was going to be someone that they liked there at 6. It didn't really matter where specifically, or maybe they were trying to jump the lines, in which case that really has you kind of scratching your head what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's the key point, Jeremy, is that you get Miami, who moves back ahead of Detroit, and we talked about this on the Locker Room podcast, but the needs kind of overlap a little bit. So they essentially get the first pick of, some of the skill position players that would also be on the Lions board. And that's really dependent upon too, what Cincinnati does, what Atlanta does. I think one of the most interesting things about this trade was something that didn't happen, and that was how Philadelphia wanted to move up to 3 because they were interested in getting Zach Wilson, and they kind of got rebuffed by, the Jets essentially kind of saying like, no, like we're going to take Zach Wilson. So it's like, all right, well, I guess we're not going to move up to get a quarterback. But then Kyle Shanahan rides in on his white horse, and we're talking about things like Mac Jones and stuff now. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Are there going to be, as Schefter mentioned earlier in the offseason, are there going to be 4 quarterbacks that go in the top 5, or could there potentially could there be like 5 quarterbacks going like the top 7 picks? It's wild.
There'd have to be a few more trades for that. The way I will see that happening is, here's my other thing that I was thinking about when it came to this, because yes, Miami jumping back up to 6 lets them choose. Assuming Atlanta doesn't, Atlanta's the only other team in the top 5 that I could see taking a quarterback. I don't think they will. I think they're going to be locked in with Matt Ryan until a lot of the money comes off his contract. But I think after that, like, if you're at 6, and you're assuming Atlanta and Cincinnati ahead of you are rational teams, you're still going to have your option of Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, or Panini Sewell. Like those, like what I
you called him Panini. Sorry, that made me
Panay Sewell. I think that might stick now, especially the Lions draft. I'll call it Panini. Excuse me, Panay Sewell. Either way, you get your pick from one of those 3. One of those 3 is going to be still on the board, and that's a damn good pick regardless, especially for a team who wants to build around. If you are going to build around Tua, maybe you're interested in one of the Alabama wide receivers who would, fit in perfectly with Tua for familiarity. Or, and here's the other possibility, Miami could trade back down. they're kind of in the same spot right now that I think Detroit last week was in at 7, and that, hey, if you want a quarterback, you want to jump Carolina, you're going to have to trade with us. Miami's kind of stolen that thunder a little bit from Detroit. And depending on what San Francisco does, if suddenly Justin Fields or Mac Jones could be a pick for a Kyle Shanahan offense, that shakes things up if someone's in love with the idea of Trey Lance. So I could see it sucks a little bit if you're a Lions fan, because I feel like Miami's stolen a bit of that driver's seat thunder from Detroit.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it, because I mean, we've seen that the Dolphins have no issues trading in, trading out, trading up, down, whatever. And I think if one of those unexpected top 4 quarterbacks falls all the way to 6, which I think is certainly possible, and I'll get to why in the second segment here, I really think they wouldn't hesitate. And you think there's teams looking to jump the Panthers, right? The Panthers are obviously a team that everyone thinks is going to be quarterback hungry. Well, first team you probably call is the Lions, but let's say you're worried that some team is already called the Lions and they're waiting to jump the Panthers and with the Lions. Well, then you go up another spot and you say, hey, maybe I need to get there a little quicker. Maybe if it falls to 5, I got to start calling the Dolphins because someone's going to get a little itchy. And I think you're right. They may have stolen the thunder. They have so many different places they can go, and they have so many draft picks that they have in this draft and next draft where they don't need to jump to any conclusions. They don't need to jump and attack one need this year because they have so many draft picks. And so, I think you're right. This it's kind of a bummer for the trade down crowd. I still think there are avenues in which the Lions do trade down, but this certainly impacts that, I would say.
It does, because of the quarterback shuffle that happened, right? And when you slot 3 quarterbacks to go in the top 3, as we're all expecting things to happen, then now all of a sudden it becomes whether or not it's Justin Fields or it's Trey Lance or it's Mac Jones, 2 of those 3 guys are going to be available. If Atlanta doesn't take a quarterback, well, now all of a sudden maybe the Lions are sitting there at 7 and they might be able to get a quarterback themselves, because we don't think Miami's going to take one and Cincinnati's out of the running. So I think 2 things can happen. 1, maybe the Lions might have a chance to take their developmental quarterback, or 2, the Lions still have a chance to move back. So I don't know. It does take a little bit of the wind out of your sails, but at least it's funny because the draft is happening way before it's happening.
Yeah, it's literally a month away from today.
Yeah, it feels like we're locking in 1 to 5 solid, and then after that the draft starts.
At least 1 to 3, and even 3 we don't know the person exactly. We only know the position.
Right. Well, I mean that I feel like regardless of what happens, 1 to 3, Atlanta and Cincinnati, they're going to take one of the trio of Pitts, Sewell, and Chase.
Maybe.
But
I'm not locking any of those in.
Okay.
Hey, unless Kyle Shanahan decided to move up to 3 to get Kyle Pitts to just unleash havoc on the NFL.
George Kittle
and Kyle Pitts.
Stop it.
The best tight ends ever.
And Kyle Juszczyk, that is just a ridiculous group of big catchers.
All right. So next segment, we're going to be doing a list cast of our top 5 realistic options for the Lions at 7, what we think and the guys we like. It's kind of our transition into draft talk. But real quick, before we go there, we turned it over to the news desk with Jeremy because there was a Dan Campbell press conference. There was two bits of notes that we can take out of there, and I think we can spell both players with the same set of 3 letters. So.
True.
Who do you want to talk about, Tavai or Vaitai? See, I told you, 3 letters.
You know what? Let's start with the crowd pleasing news, which is definitely the Jelani Tavai slight by Dan Campbell, whether it was intentional or not.
I don't think it was. Yeah. Go on.
But so he was asked to assess the linebacker room, given the changes that they've made so far, which was basically they got rid of a whole bunch of guys, they re-signed Jalen Reeves-Maybin, and they brought in Alex Anzalone. And he talked at length about a couple of those guys. He talked about Reeves-Maybin. He forgot his name for a second, but he talked about Reeves-Maybin, how he was a good special teamer. They looked back at his 2019 film, and it was good, and they think maybe he can contribute on defense. Talked about Jamie Collins, they restructured his contract and how he, projects to be a starter probably. And then he kept talking, and we're all just kind of sitting there waiting for him to address Jelani Tavai. And you know who he got to before Jelani Tavai? Someone named Sean Dion Hamilton, a guy that I have to imagine most people didn't even know was on the Detroit Lions defense, a guy that they signed to a futures contract, a guy who actually has an okay career, and especially when it comes to coverage. But then he gets to Jelani Tavai, and here's verbatim what he had to say about Jelani Tavai. We've got Tavai. He's another one that was part of this draft class a couple of years ago. That's it. I'm checking my notes. That's it.
No lies detected. No lies detected.
Jelani Tavai also on the roster. Yep. Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, again, you don't want to read too much into off-the-cuff comments. Maybe a guy just slips your mind, and that happens. I've certainly forgotten a player here and there, and it doesn't mean I don't like them or they're bad or anything like that. But when you combine it with the fact that this is a guy who just does not have any of the traits this team is looking for right now in defenders, and really anywhere on the team, they're looking for speed. They're looking for big athletes who can run, and Jelani Tavai just isn't that. So I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that this guy's cut at some point. It's not going to be now. There's no point in doing it now. But I think when it comes to roster cuts, I'm not penciling in Jelani Tavai as part of the 53-man roster. I'm just not.
Yeah, you shouldn't pencil in Jelani Tavai to really do anything. Poor guy.
It sucks.
Poor guy. He didn't ask for this. He didn't ask to be the second round pick by Bob Quinn. He didn't ask for any of this. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's just another one of the signs of the lumps that the Lions have to take in year one of a rebuild, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are some players that just aren't going to make the cut because they fit a different scheme. So, and then there was another player today too, right?
Well, before that, just real quick on Tavai, I do agree with Jeremy in that I just feel like someone in chat just pointed this out. Like Dan, it feels like Dan was just kind of going through all the new guys and kept trying to list, then just kept going. Was trying to list the linebacker core, and just Tavai skipped his name. Which, I mean, I get that, and Campbell is not the most buttoned up press conference guy. Wow, spoiler alert, news at 11. But at the same time, it is kind of bad if your head coach doesn't know the roster by the back of his hand too. So I don't know, like it doesn't tell well about you. We'll just say that.
But I mean, just try to see if you can get a sixth out of the Giants. They seem to like our players a lot.
Yeah, seriously. Vaitai.
Yeah. So again, kind of a weird bout of honesty from the front office here, which I'm still not completely used to, but I think it was Burkett asked him, what are your thoughts on Vaitai? Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? And he's like, well, nothing's set in stone, but the way we see it, we're intrigued. That's the word he used. We're intrigued moving him inside to guard, which is where he mostly played last year, although he was certainly signed at the time to play tackle last year. So it looks like he's probably going to play guard. They'll obviously play it out, and he even said, some of it depends on what we do in free agency. Some of it depends on what we do in the draft. But if he's at guard, that means the Lions' 4 starting positions are set, and right tackle is the biggest question, which means I think offensive tackle is very, very, very much in play at the top of this draft and throughout the draft.
I agree. I don't know if they'll be able to target one in the first round unless they're trading down and going for someone later, like maybe maybe Rashawn Slater. Mm-hmm. Although I think I think it's more of a day 2 pick. I think we could probably see it in the second round. And I think that's where a lot more of the linemen will go, offensive linemen will go then. But I think they've basically told you, like, we're going to draft a tackle. Be ready.
I miss Graham Glasgow.
Oh,
that hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Vaitai signing was a bad signing when it was done, and it continues to be a bad signing for a guy that you paid tackle money. Now he's playing guard. But here's another thing to consider too. The last regime obviously didn't prioritize or care about guards. So, I mean, maybe this regime treats them a little bit differently, and
Yeah.
doesn't spend their time rotating them in and out.
That would be the ideal. That would be like the base level I'm looking for, is don't rotate linemen. As the great Lincoln Kennedy always says, don't move us around, man. We're comfy where we are. All right, we're way overdue. I'm going to take a quick break. I want to read some questions from Twitch chat and from YouTube chat. When we come back, we're getting into listcasts. We haven't done one in a while, and it's part of our draft series of listcasts. And me, Jeremy, and Ryan are going to go around. We're going to give you our top 5 realistic at 7. So no trade downs, no trade ups, no manipulating a draft to make sure that Sewell somehow falls down, or that Trevor Lawrence isn't taken by the Jags or something. Best at 7. So we'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. I know we have a hype train going real quick. I'm going to start with YouTube chat.
It's over anyways.
Okay. Jazzy Bay 24, who I feel like we should probably at this point block just because you're just kind of being a jerk. But I do want to thank you for this, at least. You have Pablo Escobar, Napoleon Dynamite, and Chris Kyle American Sniper doing Lions podcast. Shame on City of Detroit. No, I take that as a compliment. Are you kidding me?
Is this a good time to bring up the picture?
Yes. This is a great time to bring up the picture. I needed someone to tell this reference to me. Like, this sucks. This sucks because, as my friends at at Fox Sports Radio and on Discord server have been telling me, I'm never recovering from this.
All right, let me find it. Meanwhile, actually, before I even find it, let's just go through the alerts because we already hit our Save the Stash goal. We're already at 26 subs today.
Of course.
You guys are maniacs. I hate you and I love you at the same time. But it all started off with Brennan, who subbed for sub-tier. He's our only tier 2 sub, by the way. And I'm going to make sure that we have a tier 2 emote that you specifically get just to yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what it is, but if you even have any requests, I will make it, Brennan.
Send it over. Send it over to us.
He is subbed for 6 months at tier 2. So appreciate that. You definitely deserve some special honors there. Then LJ came in with 10 gifted subs, I believe. Then Lines came in with 5. Katie from subbed for 6 months. Then we had a bit train going. We had 100 from Big Al, 100 from LJ, 100 from Kate, or 300 from Katie. And then Derek Bow subbed with a Twitch Prime. And then Joshua Mercer cleaned things up with 10 gifted subs. And I think that actually makes us at 27 this time around. But appreciate all the subscriptions, all the support. You guys are insane. Yeah, the stash lives on for another week. We're going to make it 50 next week. So, yeah, if you want to save them, then go for it. Same 3 host. Hold on.
All right, let's see this thing. Let's get this over with before I just hate myself, please.
Okay. Let's see if this actually loads. All right, so this was a meme a few months ago on it looks like Reddit. Oh, you can't see it completely. Let me get rid of this stuff really quick. POD logo, POD, and we are no longer on air. There we go. So all podcasts have the same 3 people hosting it. Well, that seemed to have been a little too close to home right here. And so I had to do it. I did it. I had to do it. There it is. There's the comparison.
Yep.
I guess I like that I'm the chef from Ratatouille.
Yeah, you're the chef from Ratatouille. I have a Discord server of friends asking every time I join voice chat now, asking me why I stole Woody. My friend Hunter keeps quoting to me, is like, I can't believe I have to drive all the way to work on a Saturday.
Yeah, I think Ryan definitely got out the best in this one. He just got
Did I?
some normal looking guy.
I don't think so.
No?
He's a bit of a goober in Ratatouille.
My guy
I haven't
like
seen any of these movies.
I look like Divorced Dad. I don't like the
That's
Divorced Dad.
That's from Inside Out, right?
It is, I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is, yeah. None of us came out looking good.
No, I think I came out the worst though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
I have more hair than him at least. I'm just gonna say that.
Who-
And my
Isn't
goatee is better.
isn't he voiced by? Is it Wayne Knight?
Oh, I think so. Yeah,
Toy
the
Story
Newman
2.
from Seinfeld,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
the villain in. Is he the villain in Jurassic Park? I guess he kind of is.
Kind of.
He's like the human. He is the human villain. He's one of them. Yeah. What was his? Oh,
He's
God.
essentially the villain in everything he does. That's mean.
Yeah, Al McWiggin. Yeah.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
not.
It is Wayne Knight. Yeah.
He's not a villain in Space Jam.
I guess not.
That's
you're
true.
right. You're right.
That
You know
is
what?
true.
Apparently not
I'll
in
take
JFK
that.
either. I have not seen JFK.
He used to do a lot of stuff, man.
True.
Wasn't he? Was he in Basic Instinct?
Probably. I didn't see
He was. And the only reason I remember that is because there's that famous scene of the woman uncrossing her legs
Yeah,
and then
yes.
recrossing them. Yeah. That was him.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was him? He was the one crossing
Yeah,
his
yeah.
legs?
No. He was the one staring at her when she was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That seems villainous. All right. I don't know how to get out of that.
We did have a listcast request. So from How Am I Not Myself, after you give the best case, give me the worst case scenario for the Lions in the first round. So we'll get to that closing up shop.
Yeah, we'll do that after the third segment because the next two segments are going to be best case.
That could
best
be
case
funny.
scenario.
That could be real funny. I didn't have any Ruby cameos yet. I'm probably not going to go pick him up. I'm eating nachos is asking me if USC is beating Gonzaga tomorrow. All I'm going to say is I hope, man. I hope. Fight on. Good for both me and Jeremy because it's now Michigan. Michigan's in there too.
Yeah, they are. Haven't even been challenged yet.
Yeah, I mean, neither really has USC. We kind of crushed Oregon.
I'm just
The
I'm just looking
Golden
at-
Grizzlies didn't make the tournament. Oakland University, they made it to their Summit League final, but they just couldn't get it done.
Oh, I totally expect both USC and UCLA to go down. I'm actually rooting for UCLA to go down very, very hard. But,
boy.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just happy to be here, man. It's been 20 years since USC's been in the Elite Eight. Andy Enfield, the creator of Dunk City from Florida Gulf Coast, get some wins. I see the Detroit Pistons guys over at Bad Boy Pistons are already talking about I forget the term. They're coming up with a witty term for tanking for Evan Mobley, and I can't remember what it is now.
I like Evan Mobley.
Yeah,
I would welcome him as an addition to the Detroit Pistons.
Hopefully as one who wants to actually be there instead of just sandbagging his way out and going a calendar year without a dunk, and then somehow you go to a new team and you're just, oh hey, look, I know how to dunk again.
Rude. He's gone from best basketball player on Broad City to worst.
Yes.
Yes.
Still only,
So
as far as I know, but
So Joshua, I think when it comes to USC is they're just so damn big, man. Like it was funny watching that Kansas game because they do what Kansas does every year in the tournament, but they just did it better than Kansas. They're just physical. They just bully you out. So, that said though, I mean, up against Gonzaga, it's a tough call, man. I don't know. I'll probably be wearing USC colors next time if they do beat them though.
Gonzaga has two players that are probably going to get drafted in the top 7.
Yeah.
It's pretty intimidating.
It's a good matchup. It'll be a good game. I think both those Tuesday games are going to be really good.
yeah, second one's gonna be okay. I'll probably be able to go to bed at a reasonable time.
I'll be honest.
That's no. Hold on. I know it's easy to dunk on Jeremy and that kind of slander from Michigan men, but because it's against UCLA, I'm going to be right there with you. I'm going to be right there with you.
That sucks that it's a 10 o'clock game. I'm an old man now.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay up till midnight. I'll stay up till midnight to watch Michigan State lose in overtime, but I will not stay up to bite my own fingernails in an Elite Eight game.
Listen, if UCLA wins, I'm not going to be able to hear the end of it because one of our update anchors is a UCLA guy who is very, very braggadocious on air.
Dang, Donnie Kong was at the Trey Burke three-mid shot. That was crazy. That I would, yeah. If I don't, that's a good point though. What is the best live sport? I feel like we may have answered this question a long time ago. But what's the best live sports moment you've witnessed?
Like been at a game?
Yeah.
Because I don't go to a lot of games.
Game 5, 2007 Eastern Conference Finals, LeBron James scores 48 points and wins in double overtime.
That's a good moment. Not for the right reasons for us, I think, but it's a good moment.
I think mine...
He scored 25 points in a row. Scored 28 of their last 29.
Mm-hmm.
And he single-handedly killed the dynasty.
Oh. Bobbert says Golden Tate touchdown against Atlanta. Oh, wait. Oof. Oof.
Man.
That was our first year with credentials, and Reno was there.
Yep. I think
Reno's never been back to a game since.
Mine's one of two things. It's got to be Braylon Edwards 3 touchdowns against Michigan State in overtime. That was right. Braylon Edwards, that's right? Yeah. Close second was Mario Manningham's game-winning touchdown against Penn State.
I don't think I've been to anything remarkable. Ooh. Like I went to a game where the Lions crushed the Packers back in 2014. And I've gone to a couple Tigers games, nothing but regular season, nothing really there, nothing remarkable to write home about. And I've been to a couple USC games, but aside from watching Sam Darnold kind of be ass after his Rose Bowl year, nothing really to write home about. So I think we got
to get you to a game. A couple good answers here, including one from
there goes Craig.
Oh, Craig. One from my buddy who I was at this game with him, and I probably should have mentioned. The Raiders game back in 2011.
I remember that
the road game in Oakland where it was like playoff environment for both teams, bunch on the line. The Lions had to go like 94 yards at the end of the game to score a touchdown. Then they blocked a field goal that was going to be like a 65-yarder. Sue went crazy after it, and then the next week the Lions clinched their first playoff appearance in over a decade. We had someone who was at the 2008 Capital One Bowl, Michigan beating Tim Tebow. I was at that game too. That was fun.
Yeah. Let's see. So I know I covered like the Quick Lane Bowl one year, and I nearly with Reno, and I nearly caught pneumonia.
I don't think that
Joshua Mercer. Yeah, man. Let's go to the Rams Lions game. I'd be down for that. I might try to. I usually have to work those weekend overnights, but I might try to go to that game. I'll try to get that weekend off. Would love it. Oh my God, Katie Fromey probably with the best answer. The Notre Dame win against Miami in '88, the failed 2-point conversion. Catholics versus convicts. Man, that wow.
Catholics. I forgot.
No, that's what they called it.
I forgot that that's what they called it. That's great.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you weren't at the Appalachian State game?
I wasn't at it. I was walking up the stands as the kick was being kicked because I was extremely pissed off. So I'm going to say I wasn't there.
Oh, but you were there?
I was going to say I wasn't.
The greatest upset in college football history? You're just not going to mention that one?
Nah. I'll live that game 5 times a day over the following week against Oregon where they just got destroyed and I left at halftime.
Yeah, there's always one around the bend. Actually, I did. So I went to when I was at Wake Forest, I went to 2 different games. That was the years Chris Paul was playing for Wake Forest, but I don't think any of them were remarkable. I went to one against Winston-Salem State, and I think one against NC State, but neither of them were that big.
I'm bummed I missed the whole 2016 season. the Lions 2016 season, like where every single game was just fantastic.
Just psychotic, man. Just like that was, I keep telling people that was the most fun I've had in a Lions season ever. Like 2014 is cool. 2011 is cool. Don't get me wrong. But that run where we had drunk people sending us videos of them singing Africa.
Yeah. God, that was
just random strangers.
Such a fun season, man. Jord 5K, you're not allowed to ever go to a Lions game again. He was at both the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary game and the Golden State 10-second runoff game. I'm sure there are a lot of people in your shoes, but if you're someone that like you only go to one game a year or one game every couple of years, you're not allowed to go again.
Yeah, it's like Jeremy buying jerseys.
True. I mean, I've been to my share of bad Lions losses too. I was there. I was in Seattle in the punch out. What do you call that?
Batted
ball game.
Yeah. Actually, I think I went to my sister's into hockey, and I think we went to a Red Wings game against I think it would have been it would have been before I left Toledo for LA. It would have been, I think it was like 2015, 2016, I want to say. I can't remember why it was remarkable. I know though leaving, like Twitter was a buzz about something though.
Yeah.
The last meaningful Red Wings game I went to is going to be one that Jeremy isn't all that interested in hearing about, but it was the playoff game against Tampa Bay. It was the only game that the Wings won that series.
Well.
Justin Advocator got into that fight.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
He was a player, that's for sure. He definitely played hockey sometimes.
Give us your thoughts on Tyler Bertuzzi.
Nope. I think it's time to get into our listcast.
Yeah, real quick before we do, Ryan, how much did you pay that official, by the way, in the Preds game? Gonna move that line for you. Get him a penalty early.
Oh yeah, that's wild.
I know you had your hand in it.
You know how often that has to happen.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
It was just so unfortunate that guy had a mic on.
Yeah. And as someone pointed out, probably didn't help. Like, I'm not saying this for prudish reasons, but probably didn't help that he dropped an F-bomb in part of it, because then it started to seem less about I was just setting the tone of the game to I just don't like that team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a great look.
Yep. All right. As Jeremy said, we should probably get back into it though.
All right.
I saw Big Al come in with Game 6 of the 1968 Tigers World Series. It's another good one.
Nice.
But way before my time, obviously.
Wait, you were at that game and now you're on Twitch?
Yeah. No, Big Al, he's been in some of our Discord voice hangouts for Lions games too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, let me get a logo over.
Yeah, sorry, Craig is being Craig.
62.
I've gone through this
Big Al
faster than I thought I was.
You're like the 1% of people on Twitch, I would say. Credit to you, man.
I actually have someone else. He's a Steelers and Pirates fan that I play Destiny with, and I'm pretty sure he's in his late 50s or 60s as well. And he just sits around and plays he plays Apex Legends and Destiny. So. All right. Listcast time, baby. It's good again. We're back bringing you the Listcast, part of the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Probably one of our favorite segments, even though it's just list radio remade into a podcast format, which makes it about as annoying. But guess what? It's for us. It's for us to you, and we have fun with it. But we're going to start off this year's part of Listcast. I think we had one earlier this year, actually. So it's technically our second Listcast. But we're going to start our Listcast off for this month with talking about the draft. And we're talking about realistic options at number 7 in the draft. We've talked about some of our favorites. We've talked about the possibilities of trading down or trading up. And I think there's going to be a future PODcast that we're going to devote specifically to options for the Lions for trading down. But this one, We're assuming the Lions are standing pat at 7. We're assuming nothing crazy is going on, although I think there's a couple of outside scenarios that I know Jeremy wants to pound the table for. But we're going to give you our top 5. So in this segment, we'll do 5 and 4. Before we start, before we get to your guys' picks, are there any positions that you prioritize? Any that you take off the board entirely? Are you completely off about quarterback, or what's your thought process going into this?
This is almost just a listing of the big board for me of players that I think would be there or could be there, because I'm not taking any sort of positions off the board. It's simply just talent and value. That's what, when you have a top 10 pick, you need to get value, period. I don't care about position other than the natural value that comes with a position. I'm just trying to get talented guys that'll bring immediate value to your team. So for me, I'm not like saying, you know what, this team doesn't need an offensive tackle. This team doesn't need a tight end. Wink, wink. This team doesn't need a quarterback right away. Everything's on the table here, and I think everything should be on the table for the Lions.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's interesting because I think we were kind of ramping up to this point by this time, last year. It's like, are the Lions maybe potentially thinking about the future? Are they willing to go quarterback? And it didn't make sense for the last regime. It'd be interesting to see how the board would have fallen if there was a different regime in place, if they would have prioritized maybe grabbing, Herbert or Tua or, whomever they may have chosen there at 3. But this year, it seems like literally any position is on the board.
That would have been a cursed list cast. What would the Boston boys do for the 2020 draft? In part because I think they would have just cut Stafford or something. They would have done something stupid. But anyway, for me, I think we're going to have a lot of the same picks for a lot of these, especially after 5. It's just a matter of order, I think, is what's going to be more important to see who prioritizes.
Because I think we all, for the past month, we've been all circling the same names as guys who we think are going to be there. The question is, their Lions are probably going to have 3-4 of these guys available to them. Who are they going to prioritize? So they're going to have to create a list cast of their own. They call it big boards, but they're really bliss casts.
But they're list casts. They're list casts for the rest of us. So let's start. Let's start at number 5, and we'll start with Jeremy.
All right. First, I'm going to say a 6 because I need to humor Ryan.
Okay, just missed your cut. Just missed your cut.
Kyle Pitts is my 6. Just missed the cut. I think he'll probably be there, but I watched some Kyle Pitts tape, and I get it. But he's not making my list. Number 5 is Jalen Waddle. Wide receiver out of Alabama, obviously dealt with injuries last year, but dude can separate. Dude is a big play machine. Dude's got hands. I think he's got one of the best hands set of hands, I should say, not just one hand. In the business here, wide receiver is obviously a huge need. This would kind of lock that position up for the next at least 4 years. You hope it well beyond that, but I like him a lot as a prospect. He isn't at the top of my wide receiver big board here, but the one thing that is going to be a common theme for me is I'm going to be happy over all these guys. And if the Lions pick out any of these guys, you're going to see a smile on my face. Everything is so close here that I'm only nitpicking between guys here, and it's something the Lions are going to have to do, but it's not going to be an easy task.
All right, Ryan.
Yeah. All right. To kick things off, I kind of took a little bit of a different approach than Jeremy did because I wouldn't be too thrilled with my number 5. That's Devonta Smith. And I have concerns about Devonta Smith, and I think that a former Pride of Detroit employee best stated it early on this year. He had a Twitter thread that was pretty revealing, and it was interesting to say the least. But Kent Lee Platty, Math Bomb, as you know him on Twitter, he said that there were 2,500 wide receivers in the RAS database with height and weight recorded, over 2,100 or from 2000 to 2020. Of those, only 27 were 6 feet or taller and under 180 pounds. Of those, only one receiver since 2000 with those measurements broke 750 yards in a single season. That guy's name is Nate Washington. Devonta Smith is a guy who his only con is his weight and whether or not he'll be able to stand an NFL test. And I will say one thing. If that's the only thing that people are worried about, maybe that's the good thing. And that's why, at 5, for me, like I would not be super high on the idea of having Devonta Smith, but there could be worse things that could happen.
Fair enough. I'm going to have more to say about that when he's on my list, because spoiler alert, he is on my list as well.
Yeah, I'll say some thoughts there too. But for me at 5, I want to say a guy who's not going to appear on my list. He might appear on your guys' list, but I've had some conversations about him lately. And I might be taking off my rational hat by talking about this, but given my personal history and given what I've said about this particular topic in the past, Micah Parsons is not on my list. He will never be on my list. What he's accused of doing at Penn State is reprehensible, of the highest order. And I'm not just saying that to be like a scold. Like, it offends me as a human being. And on the side of trying to be pragmatic, it would betray everything Lions have talked about when it comes to building a better locker room culture and trying to, have everyone working on a more positive note. So, and from the other side of it, like an off-ball linebacker. And I mean, I know he could probably do more than that, but I just don't think, given the other options here and with my own personal disgust at the idea of what his past holds, that Micah Parsons will appear on my list. I know I'm going to sound like a scold. I know people are going to be like, oh, get over it, Chris. I will not get over it. I won't. Sorry. Number 5 for me then is going outside, because I have some issues on some of the other receivers Like I share a little the concern on Smith, although I know Waddle's only about like 10 pounds heavier, I believe. So
yeah, he's also much shorter.
Yeah, he's much shorter. But this would be an interesting one just because, like, I know we talked in the past about Pitts, how we could really test Lions fans if you draft another tight end. However, I'm going to make a case for Caleb Fairley, that cornerback, because I think we talked about it before on what a state the Lions defensive backfield looks like right now. It would be a bit of a luxury pick. Something would have had to happen where you're off on a lot, like Sewell's off the board, Pitts is off the board, some Chase is off the board, and the other wide receivers you're just not high on. But depending what happens with Okudah, you might want to still invest in another cornerback. And even if Okudah pans out,
you need a second one.
Yeah, you need to field at least 2. Sometimes 3. So I could make the case for, and Fairley, I know what was the procedure? He just had a disectomy on the S1, which is really from my previous injury, which was, yeah. He had an injury when he deadlifted. He herniated. He had some sort of injury on his. I'm reading this quote, but he's giving like S1 L5. I'm not
back surgery. Just back surgery.
I'm not a back surgeon. Yeah.
Just back
either
surgery.
way, I don't think about that too much, and he's legitimate backfield talent. I think some people are off him because of the injury, but I totally see him as a top 7 talent.
Fair enough. You want me to go with my number 4?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go to number 4.
Devonta Smith. It's funny you brought up Math Bomb, because I had a conversation with him about Devonta Smith after I watched some film over the weekend. And obviously he shares all those same concerns that you have. And obviously he's a very analytical guy. So if there's a guy who would be against Devonta Smith, he'd be your guy, right? Like, he knows how much of a rarity it is for someone of his size and stature to succeed in the NFL. And you know who Kent Lee Platty's number 1 receiver is in this year's draft class? It's still Devonta Smith. He's still that much of a believer that he is the guy that breaks the mold. And it's hard to argue because he's already broken so many molds. How often does a wide receiver win the Heisman Trophy? That is a quarterback's game, my friend. It doesn't happen all that often. And so, I mean, he was the most exciting player to watch in football last year. He is one of the most talented skill route runners that I've seen play. I would be thrilled to have him. And in terms of the person you're getting, everyone vouches for this guy as one of the hardest working guys, one of the most humble guys that'll just work his butt off. And he's going to have a tremendous chip on his shoulder. And Dan Campbell was saying today, a bunch of the free agents they added this year, they were searching for guys with chip on their shoulders. And so I'm going to be rooting for this guy wherever he goes. And I kind of hope it's here in Detroit.
Yeah, I'm a little. There's two concerns I have for Devonta Smith. You brought up the Heisman, which is like, I mean, that's fantastic, but also Heismans have not translated well into the NFL for various reasons. Although, granted, a lot of them have been because they're going to quarterbacks, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, you look at a running back who had a Heisman, and it's Derrick Henry, and hey, what's he been doing? Besides the size, I'm actually worried he might not be there at 7. I think there is an outside chance that when you're looking at Miami, we're talking about Miami who got back up to 6. I mean, they could take Devonta Smith just because that Alabama familiarity between Tua and Alabama. Just, that might be there if they're not really in love with whoever's left after Cincinnati and
Atlanta,
excuse me. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. My number 4 is Rashawn Slater. This is the guy that I think is the most likely to be there at 7 if the Lions are going to go offensive line. I don't think that Sewell lasts this long just because he's clearly the number 1 offensive line prospect. The thing that really intrigues me about Slater is, and this is interesting because I bring up size as something that kind of turns me off about Devonta Smith, but the thing about Slater is him being 6'3". The question is whether or not teams would be willing to keep him out on the edge at the next level, or if he's going to move into guard. But either way, I think he's going to be a staple of anybody's offensive line once he gets selected. As a freshman, I mean, this is a guy, he took 2020 off, and you're going to see that with, a few of the guys that are, listed. Sewell took 2020 off. Jamar Chase took 2020 off. Slater did as well, but as a freshman, he was starting at right tackle. He put up one of the best grades as a right tackle. Eventually, he moved over to left tackle. One of the, if you're going to watch anything related to Rashawn Slater, watch him line up against Chase Young. And he had the best game that anybody had in 2019 versus Chase Young, bar none. So if there's a guy that I would be excited about at 7, the Lions going offensive line, Rashawn Slater seems like he would be like a quote unquote stretch maybe, but I think that he's truly the second best offensive lineman in the draft.
So my number 4 might be a little bit of a stretch, and we might be getting weird, and maybe I overthought this a little bit just because maybe I'm not in love with Smith and Waddle as much, but going down a little bit and maybe belying my need for an edge rusher. My 4 is Kwity Paye as a realistic option out of Michigan. I know the tape is a little choppy, however, the man is as explosive as you can ask for. And I know he impressed very well at the pro day. He looks to be what could be you've got Okwara once again, but you need another defensive end. And if the Lions want to start rejiggering their defensive line to go from, we want to stop the run first to we want to get after the quarterback first, can't do much worse than Kwity Paye.
I hope you mean much better.
Yes, that's what I mean. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm stumbling.
Oh no, we're taking the worst guy in the draft. No. I mean,
no.
It does seem
You're
like
the
a
Michigan
bit of
guy.
a
Go
reach.
ahead.
Like this would be a great
Yeah.
trade down option, right? If the Lions trade down with the Patriots and get the 15th pick, Kwity Paye, I think, is excellent value there. And
I don't think he lasts until 15. That's the thing.
I mean, we're all just guessing at this point. I can say you're crazy, but I don't know. I mean, if you look at draft boards of the Draft Network and PFF, then yeah, he will be there at 15. But what do they know? Like we get surprises all the time. Maybe someone falls in love with Kwity Paye and he goes 6. You just don't know. So I'm not gonna crap on that pick. I think it's possible, but just based on what I'm thinking, I see these top 10 guys as just kind of a different level, and if the Lions were to pass, I think on a top receiving option for Kwity Paye, even though he's a Michigan man, I'd be slightly disappointed.
So getting into our top 3, like if they pass on Pitts or Chase, yes, absolutely, I agree there. But again, like we talked about the issues with Smith, and I'm not completely sold on Waddle being a top 10 pick. So like, I don't know. I feel for myself, it's a little more open than just wide receiver when it comes to number 7.
There was no way that Clelin Ferrell was going to go ahead
Right.
of Josh Allen, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's the 4th pick in the draft. So
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a quick break, and we come back on the other side. We're going to do 3, 2, and 1 snake order, wind it down there. So real quick, we're going to take that break, be right back to do the other half of this on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. I apologize for me stuttering a little bit there. That was awful.
Rob Goff 328 with the 3-month subscription using his Prime says, "You guys are the best. Thank you for all the hard work. Thank you for joining us, Rob. Appreciate the sub. You pushed us."
We have a small request.
What's that?
Uncle Indigo, busy day. I am here now. Please start over. Thanks.
Okay. Kick the intro off. Let's go.
Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast.
Thanks for stopping by, Uncle Indigo. Appreciate it. They didn't even need you today. We already saved the stash, so you can take the day off, my friend.
Yeah.
I think we're at 28 now. I don't think I have anything to talk about this break, chat. I think you guys were all behaving. You all were on topic.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
3rd segment.
Just jump
I want
into
to watch
it.
college basketball.
Why?
Okay.
Hold on. Let's share your bet first.
Hold on. Yeah. Let's hear this.
What do you got going on this? Where's the money at?
Where's the cabbage?
I got Baylor and Houston both to win in a parlay, and then I also have Baylor to win and over 149 points scored against Arkansas.
We've still got 45 minutes before tip-off. I don't know why you're in such a hurry.
That's not true. Game starts at 7:15, dog.
Yeah, that's 45 minutes.
Yeah. 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Hold on. You know how long these things take. We're going to do the 3rd segment, and then we're going to
You always
Be
dip
champ.
after the 3rd one, though. You're free to leave after the 3rd one.
You're not my boss.
Lion in London, thank you for the 8-month subscription, my friend. You've been around quite some time. Appreciate that. Because there's some people that have only been around for the past 4 months when we really got hot. You're one of those OGs. Appreciate it, my friend.
Not that we discriminate.
No. We love everybody. Soon we're going to have badges, though, that they'll show how long you've been subbed. In 1 to 3 months, we'll have one badge. 4 to 6 months. I haven't decided what the badges are going to be yet, but
As we walk away and get a little bit of plumber crack from Ryan.
yep. TOS.
Uncle Indigo.
Uh-oh.
Let's talk. Ooh.
That's
Yeah,
why.
I saw Sui. Where is he? IOU on that Ruby cameo. He's zonked out. I don't want to wake him up.
Look at him just being a big comfy boy on that.
There he is. There he is. The goose is loose.
Was he scratching at the door?
No, he does this thing where whenever I'm podcasting, so I'm on the 2nd floor, he sits at the top of the stairs so that he can have easy access to everybody downstairs. But if I choose to open the door, he's all about coming in here.
Oh,
The goose
what a
is
good
loose.
boy. Everything wags his tail when you look at him.
He's got the best ears. He's got those bat-like
He
ears.
does have bat-like ears.
Goose.
You're good too, okay? Is he back for good?
Well, he's stayed here like 3 days in a row, so
Okay.
he's it's spring break, so
that's right.
got some extra time with him. Oh yeah.
Someone's saying Gregory Rousseau overpay for Nate Casper.
Apparently, he had some ridiculous measurables at Miami Pro Day.
Oh wow, ridiculous measurables at a pro day. You don't say.
I'm telling you that it just
Smith
happened
somehow. Smith magically finding like 5 pounds at Alabama pro day.
This is why, and this is no shade at Kent at all, but like I am not trusting Raz this year. I'm just not. I'm sorry. Like there's no combine. I'm not. Who
was it I was watching? Thor Nystrom was doing some like Zapruder film analysis on someone's 40 time at a pro day. Let me go find it real quick because like it like has a -1 on it for half a second and then it like snaps ahead like 0.1 second or something. Like it's kind of crazy. Who was it?
But I think there is an official time that they're getting from all these pro days because like I don't know if you remember when they originally canceled the
it was Caleb Fairley, so that helps me a lot.
When they originally canceled the combine, they said they're remodeling it this year. And what the remodel meant like is they're just going to have official timers there at every pro day. And so we'll get an official time, but I'm still not trusting it since it's all set up to really benefit the player. And this is kind of off topic, but Brad Holmes told, I thought, a pretty entertaining story about Brashad Perriman's 40-yard dash at his pro day. He didn't run it at the combine, but he lined up, and if you've ever watched the 40-yard dash, you have to stay still in that pose before you jump for like 3 seconds. If you jump too early, the guy will make you do it over again. But Perriman, he got in his set and immediately went off, and that caught everyone, hand timing it off guard. So he ran like a 4.19 or something crazy like that. Everyone was looking around, and everyone's got him in the 4.1s, and everyone was like, "Hey man, you got to run it again." He's like, "Nah, I'm good."
And I don't need to do that again.
Eventually, they did get him to run it, and I think he ran a 4.25 or something, so it was still blazing fast. But I thought it was
still not as crazy as Chris Jones' 40-yard time.
What was Chris Jones? I don't even know who Chris Jones is. Who's Chris Jones?
Defensive tackle for Kansas City.
It's not his time that was remarkable.
Oh, is that where he fell down and we saw some stuff we didn't want to see?
You didn't want to see.
Fair. I didn't want to see. What's going on there with Goose?
Oh, he is so excited. He is so excited to talk about the Detroit Lions. I know we just had a donation.
He wants to play.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, we'll get you out of here soon. I know we just had a donation from Lion in London. I was just gonna say like I'm becoming a big proponent of afternoon tea. So
we'll get you working on crumpets next week.
Excuse me while I'm polishing off this pot. Trying my best to get off drinking more pop.
Love that you still say pop, even though you're in soda land.
Listen, man. I'm gonna keep. I got enough crap from Canadians by calling it pop when I lived up in Vancouver over 10 years ago that I feel like at this point it's just gonna stick in my craw. It's just gonna be like a thing that I stick to no matter what.
I find it hard to believe that Canadians gave you crap for anything. They're not known for doing.
Yeah, they did.
You found the only rude Canadians.
Oh no, Vancouver's full of rude Canadians.
Oh, Vancouver doesn't count.
Vancouver doesn't count. Why not? It was also during the George W. Bush years. Everyone was giving Americans crap.
John, already then.
That's right. I forgot John was watching. No, I mean, I love Vancouver. No, legit. But besides the weirdos that I had to deal with up there, and I could tell you stories about some of the people I worked with in Vancouver who just blew my mind. But Vancouver is legitimately like one of the best cities I've ever lived in. Legit. Yeah, John's like
he's corroborating.
Has tons of. He's right. Yeah, they have tons of assholes. Yeah.
Is it bad? Like, my very first image of Vancouver is them riding over the Stanley Cups, a few years ago, and that awesome picture of two people just making out amid chaos behind them. You know what picture I'm talking about?
Yeah,
oh, man. Yeah,
that was one of the greatest.
I was gonna say I was thinking about
the
tiny little Asian kid with the glasses and the belt with the hockey stick standing out after he had smashed an ATM. But anyway,
I was gonna Google that image, and the first story that came up that said, "Is Vancouver riot kissing couple still together 4 years later?"
Are they?
Although that is now a 6-year-old article, so we'll see if there's. I don't see.
If we need a 10-year update.
Yeah, we need.
We want them with child.
Oh my gosh.
I love
this doesn't break TOS,
like
right? Because it's almost a little obscure. Right? It's well, whatever. This is the photo I'm talking about if you've never seen it. It's kind of amazing.
Okay. No, that's fine. Oh yeah, I remember this now. Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, let's get back to it. I love anniversaries like that stuff. Like, I think one of the craziest things I ever heard someone on Detroit sports radio ever say, and it was a big name too. He said he was not interested in talking about the anniversary of the Malice at the Palace. And I'm just
what a lame.
Why? He wanted to talk about Scherzer's free agency at the time. So this would have been like, 2015? He didn't want to talk about the anniversary of the Malice. Get out of here.
Lame.
No, that would have been 2014, I think, actually. But yeah. So yeah, it would have been the 10-year anniversary. Anyway. Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, and doing the second half of our top 5 list cast for most realistic needs for the Lions at number 7. And I think so far we have had, I know for myself, I've had Caleb Fairley and Kwity Paye. Jeremy, I believe you had
Jalen Waddle at 5, Devontae Smith at 4.
So you've been Alabama wide receivers. Ryan, you're 4 and 5.
Devonta Smith at 5 and Northwestern's Rashawn Slater, offensive lineman.
All right, very good. And now we move into the big 3, which I think this is more about order here, I think. So, Ryan, it's been Jeremy to start off. So, Ryan, you get to lead us off now at 3.
All right. Well, it's a name that we've already said, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. But Jalen Waddle, I'm interested in him from the perspective that he is like the total package, like he's an elite deep threat, but he's more than that. I think that lining him up in the slot is something that can be absolutely devastating. He's got speed. He gets off the line of scrimmage in a hurry. He's somebody who I think is probably one of the best all-around athletes in the class. It's just one of those things where it's like, does he have enough experience? That kind of remains to be seen. But I definitely have a preference, and it's Waddle over Smith.
Fair enough. My number three is probably going to be. It is going to be number 3. It's going to be Kyle Pitts. I know we all fall in love with the idea of just transforming Pitts right into a wide receiver. It just doesn't work like that. However, I'm not going to be mad if the Lions take Pitts. He's good. He's really damn good. I don't know if he'll really be there is the big thing, but I think again, we talk about this idea that Chase, Pitts, and Sewell are going to all come off the board first. It's probably why I downgraded a bit, because I just don't know if Pitts is going to be there. But if he is, you might give up some interesting options over him to go and get him. But I'm not going to poo-poo on it. Jeremy.
My number 3, and maybe this is cheating a little bit, but it's a quarterback if one of the top 4 is available. And I think there's a chance. I do think.
Hold on. Who are you listing as your top 4? Because we've got 5 in play right now.
No, Mac Jones is not a top 5.
Listen, man, I know you don't think that, but I think NFL people disagree with you.
No, and that's to me why the scenario here is I think in play, because we've talked, or we've heard, the 49ers might be interested in Mac Jones. And if that's the case, then you're talking about Trey Lance and Ohio State's
probably Fields.
Yeah, Fields still being out there after you pass that top 3. And so 2 quarterbacks available. Who knows what happens after that? The Falcons, I'm with you. I don't think they take a quarterback. They restructured Matt Ryan's deal so that they can't get rid of him in the next 2 years. So I don't think they're going quarterback, which means now you're at 5 with 2 of those guys potentially still being on the board. Bengals aren't going to take one. They got a quarterback. And so if there's no trades, that's a clear path for the Lions potentially landing one of these top 2 quarterbacks. And honestly, I don't care which one it is. At this point, I'll take either 2.
Gun to your head, which one? Come on. Even if it's just a slight edge.
I'm too excited by Trey Lance. I just am. Like, he's got some crazy athletic skills that if it happens, it's a project, it's a perfect fit. He can sit for a year or 2 behind Goff. I'll take it. But I wouldn't be upset with Justin Fields. And I know people are going to be like, well, the whole point in drafting a rookie quarterback is to have him on that cheap rookie deal and get production out of there. You're not going to win games with a rookie. It's very rare that a team goes far in those first couple years of a rookie quarterback anyway. So why don't you just kind of have him develop for 2 years, and maybe in year 3 he's ready to hit the ground running and take this team to the playoffs or even further. So I'm not averse to the Lions taking a quarterback in the first round. And if one of those top 4 guys is there, I think the Lions should do it. I really do. I mean, not as much as maybe if these other top 2 guys that I have are there, but quarterback needs to be part of this conversation still. And I think people are starting to ignore it because of the Goff restructure, because of some of the trades that have already happened. I still think there's a chance that a top 4 quarterback is there. And if he is, the Lions better consider it.
Yeah, that's something I didn't really factor in, Jeremy. But I would, I'm right there lock in step with you. I would actually prefer Fields, because this is a guy that I think everybody was like penciling in as the number 2 quarterback. And then all of a sudden they got their, underwear twisted up over a 2020, COVID season. So, I mean, Fields was the top recruit even ahead of Trevor Lawrence. And I mean, he's done nothing but show that he has like all of the tools to be a successful quarterback. So I'm really high on Fields. If he's available somehow at 7, I almost would say that he would trump all of the guys that I have listed on my top 5 list.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm not completely sold, like in the sense that I feel that, I don't know, I want to see next year's class. And also, I'm just not that down on Mac Jones as much. I know you guys would probably skip him if he was the one there at 7, but I think for a lot of teams, like it's like, okay, it's an Alabama for a lot of us. It's like, okay, he has an Alabama quarterback. He had a lot of talent around him. But as I said, I think a lot of NFL teams look at that and say, yeah, we're going to have a good offensive line around you too.
Yeah, I think the thing that bugs people about Mac Jones the most is just the lack of mobility, right? Like, he's not one of these crazy hybrid guys that can run and make plays with his feet as much. But if you, I mean,
that's
and
not
again,
a problem in the NFL.
But it's becoming a problem, right? Like, there's definitely a trend towards the more mobile quarterbacks now. It's what gets people excited. And we all know who started it, right? Like, well, I would argue that Aaron Rodgers probably kind of started it, but certainly Patrick Mahomes excelled at it more than anyone else. And now you got Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson, and so that's where people are going. That's what people are getting excited about. The game is getting faster again, and so they want fast quarterbacks, and Mac Jones just doesn't have that. But I will say that I think people are poo-pooing on him a little bit too much. I think he's got a better arm than I think most people give him credit for. His accuracy was phenomenal, and at Alabama, I think it's one of. I think he's a top 3 quarterback in terms of just pure accuracy. So he'll be in the conversation, but he's not the guy I'm looking for.
I'll just say this: if this was like 10 years ago, I think Mac Jones would probably be the second quarterback off the board. Do you agree with that assessment at least, or no?
I would agree with it from the aspect that Jeremy totally just like exempted Michael Vick. Michael Vick crawled so that all these quarterbacks could run.
Okay, but he didn't start a trend, right? Like, or maybe he tried, but maybe other NFL teams tried, but like there was no one like Mike Vick for a decade.
I think when you start talking about like the Aaron Rodgers of the world, these are the guys who like can operate in the pocket, but they can also do something with their feet. They're not statues like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Drew Brees. Yeah.
Those are all good names to be statues, I'm just going to say.
People in the chat.
If that's the knock on Mac Jones, that he's a statue. He's got good company.
People in the chat now bringing up Randall Cunningham. Guys, I wasn't saying any of those guys was the first to do it. I'm saying started a trend that we're seeing now in the NFL.
Yeah.
Bobby Lane.
All right, let's move on to number 2 before we just completely lose our minds now. Number 2 for me, and I think for me it is this one's going to take some creative math to get him to land here. But number 2 for me is Penei Sewell. We talked a little bit about how this top of this draft could be shaken up. Realistically, I don't know. I think compared to some of these, again, I think Jeremy talked about it a little bit earlier. The top of this draft is suddenly becoming a lot more quarterback heavy. And if someone jumps Detroit to take Miami's pick and picks a quarterback, then if only I could see it that it would get down there. It's like, okay, Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts are off the board. Sewell's still here. What do you want to do? I want him.
I don't see the Cincinnati Bengals passing on him at all whatsoever. Their franchise quarterback just had an ACL injury.
That's certainly the biggest hurdle. But I was looking at our buddy Joe Goodberry, who joined our podcast to talk about Marvin Lewis way back when. He's full on getting him weapons. He thinks the value of offensive line is in the second round, and there are a lot of people I think in Cincy that feel that way too. And I think they certainly could use the weapons. The AJ Green era is essentially over, and so they're looking for some weapons there. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them. And Jamar Chase, right? That I think we've already heard some rumors of Joe Burrow trying to get Jamar Chase there, and that would make a lot of sense too for them. I think.
I could also see them taking Pitts, as much as I know it would hurt Ryan. You want to talk about, hey, you want to get him some protection and a weapon? Kyle Pitts?
It wouldn't hurt me because I know that young man would fly in Cincy. He would absolutely be just a dynamite.
Not much fly.
That's just receiving option.
Not a long drive for you to go watch it too. So
yeah,
like
that's
3 hours, 4 hours. Go hang out with my buddy Andy Furman, and then you become his pen pal.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that Cincy people want, to smash the case on a shiny new receiver. That, I mean, it's not like they haven't drafted somebody like, I don't know, John Ross recently.
All right, let's move. So that's number 3.
That was your number 2. That was your 2.
That was my number 2. Okay. Just making sure because we got lost in the weeds there. Ryan, give me your number 2.
Jamar Chase. I like him. I like him a lot. He's my number 1 wide receiver. And again, a guy who didn't play in 2020, only really had like one super uber productive season. And it just so happened to coincide with, the previously mentioned Joe Burrow and his incredible season that he had where he won the Heisman. But the thing I like about Jamar Chase is that he is just, he's the whole package. Like he's He's 6'1", he's 200 pounds. He breaks tackles. I mean, if this is something that we've missed since Golden Tate, he, as PFF says, he plays like a grown man, and he's shown that after the catch where he's broken 22 tackles. So I mean, this is a guy who's like consistently gone up against, and this is something that I think that I always have to keep in mind, but like he's gone against SEC talent. Like he's played against the cornerbacks like the AJ Terrells of the world, and he's played against the Trevon Diggs of the world. He's somebody who can get it done deep. He's somebody who can get it done in the intermediate. I think that Jamar Chase is my number one wide receiver in the draft class, and he's almost kind of like my 1B to my 1A.
We all know who your 1A is, or anyone who's paying attention knows who your 1A is. But Jamar Chase is also my number 2, and I agree with everything you said. The one thing I want to add, and I mentioned it during the locker room, is there's this notion out here that Jamar Chase isn't fast. He can't separate. And I think part of the issue is that people are watching the tape against these great SEC corners and thinking, oh, these are just college scrubs. They're not. These are fast guys that you're going to see on Sundays if you aren't already. Jamar Chase, you're right. Complete package, speed, size, physicality. And that's the thing. Like a lot of these other guys, and I'm not going to try to take anything away from Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle. Those guys are separators. Those guys are speed guys that are your big home run threats. I still have questions about their ability to kind of hit those 5, 10, 15-yard passes underneath, which we all know is what Jared Goff probably is best at doing. Jamar Chase is that dude. Jamar Chase is that dude, and I would be thrilled to have him. And I'm not worried about the separation. I'm not worried about the speed, anything like that. I mean, the dude is fast. The dude is not Kenny Golladay. I've seen a lot of people throw, he's Kenny Golladay. He's much, much faster than Kenny Golladay.
He's
really
better.
Is. And he's better. And Kenny Golladay is arguably a top 10 receiver, so screw you. No, Jamar Chase, my number 2, would be a fantastic pick.
All right, let's go snake order. Let's get your number 1.
Penei Sewell. It doesn't. I think just the idea of having an offensive line set for the future is way too appealing for me. And yes,
you can do whatever you want with your offense at that point.
Yeah,
like anything you want. You want to do Derrick Henry out of the backfield? Go ahead. You want to do play action? Go ahead. You want to
remember how
routes?
dominant the Dallas Cowboys were like 5 years ago when they had the best offensive line in the league? They could do anything. They could literally do, except, you win a playoff game, but they could basically do anything on offense. And it gives you so many options, and yet you have to do some mental gymnastics to get him there at 7. But I think we discussed how that could possibly happen. And I think it starts with, someone falling in love with Mac Jones, probably. But I think it's possible. I'm probably cheating a little bit by putting him as my number 1 because I think a lot of people would have him high up there if he's there. But having your offensive line figured out and young and locked up for the future, I mean, everyone on that offensive line would be set for at least the next 4 years, depending on how Vitae plays out. But as we said at the top, like he's probably your starting guard this year, and if he can show up, line's got him locked up for another couple of years, and so that means they're set. When's the last time have we ever been able to say the offensive line is literally set? Never.
Nope.
And
you're seeing it with more.
And then just buy all the DeAndre Swift stock you can after that.
You're seeing more and more teams investing very heavily into their offensive lines as well. Like, I mean, it was already the unspoken rule that you just keep your offensive lines around, but teams are really like San Francisco has a great offensive line. Like this is not hard. This is kind of the way you do it. And why did the Kansas City not win the Super Bowl and Tampa Bay did? Offensive lines.
The only issue I would have with this is it would kind of like, well, okay, so are you drafting a left tackle and playing him at right tackle? And that's something, so a cross you'd have to bear. I think I'm fine. We talked about it a little bit on the locker room. I'm fine with him starting at right tackle for this year, maybe next year. And also the good news is, hey, if Taylor Decker gets hurt, throw him over at left tackle because he's pretty good at that. We've established that he's pretty good at left tackle. And then you got your swing tackle in Tyrell Crosby to come over at right tackle, and you're still pretty good there. So I just think it makes too much sense. I'm too excited about having a good offensive line of the future. Give me Penei Sewell if he's there.
Panini Sewell. Yep. Ryan, we know who you want, and I'm going to give you a gift. I agree with you.
You agree
He's my
with
number
me?
one. He's my number one as well.
Wow.
All right.
We've got 2 stops at the pit stop.
Put me down for the pit stops. I'm a believer at this point. I am a believer. I've seen the light. You are right. I think he is more likely to be there than Jamar Chase. I think Chase is off the. If Chase isn't off the board between Cincinnati, Miami, and Atlanta, then something's gone completely wrong. I think Pitts is the more realistic option. And that's what it comes down to between Chase and Pitts, is about what's more realistic. I think Pitts is the more realistic option, and I'm going to leave the rest of the floor to you, because I want you to just you want to proselytize. Give it out. Give it to me.
Yeah, sure. Let me hit this home, because Kyle Pitts is without a doubt the best skill position player in this draft.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
doubt.
Without a doubt. Let's take things into account for the Detroit Lions, right? Kyle Pitts is 20 years old. You know, you want a guy who's going to be a part of a rebuild? Go and get the guy who's 20 years old and was, again, playing SEC competition. And the biggest knock on him is, well, he's a tight end. It's easy. How are you going to take a tight end that early in the draft? Okay, been there, done that a couple of times. Okay, but let's put this out there. Kyle Pitts is more of a jumbo wideout than he is a tight end. Okay, he can develop that skill set, but guess what? The Lions have the luxury of taking a guy like that because they have a more traditional inline tight end in not only TJ Hawkinson, but obviously in Josh Hill as well. So the stat that I absolutely love, because I think the one thing, I mean, look at any of the tape that people have cut up of him in the red zone. I mean, that guy has absolute just hands. He can just catch anything that's in front of him. Their thing is, well, he doesn't have like out of this world speed. He can separate against the highest level of corners because, as Jeremy mentioned, he's not playing scrubs in the SEC. PFF had him down as he averaged 4.91 yards per route versus man coverage this year. That was the third highest of any player in the country, and more than 2 yards against any other tight end. So this guy, he just gets it done. He is an offensive weapon. Just because he's a tight end, that shouldn't just like immediately throw him off your board. Kyle Pitts, 2021. Come on.
I want to pull.
Hey,
I want to pull
Pitts
receipts from you last year when we were talking about TJ Hawkinson and positional value.
It's different.
Yeah.
This is the pit stop, baby.
We're taking the pit stop here. We're at Daytona and we're taking the pit stop. This is also in Florida. I think that Hawkinson's a different beast. As much as I like Hawkinson, I don't think I'm ever going to see Hawkinson run like a really fantastic seam route. I think if we get to Kyle Pitts, you're going to have options open on the inside receiving game that the Lions haven't had before. And I think what won me over is I went back and I kept thinking about it. And I know I've named this man a million times, because in that 2016 season, where was the Lions' greatest red zone threat? It was with Anquan Bolden in the slot. Like, Kyle Pitts on your inside receiving is going to score you touchdowns. He's going to get you first downs. You move the ball. You move the sticks. You get in the pit stop.
He's going to be a great red zone player.
When was the last time the Lions can say that?
TJ Hawkinson, 2021.
Hey, Jeremy, I need to ask you a quick question. Do you know how many passes Kyle Pitts dropped in 2020?
How many, Ryan? How many was it?
Kyle Pitts and I dropped the same amount of passes in 2020. None. Zero. Zilch.
Cool. So he's not Eric Ebron. He's not Eric Ebron. That's not what I'm worried about.
The pit stop is comfortable, man. We got chairs. They're comfortable. We got refreshments. We got
mellow yellow.
We got everything.
I'm riding high in the pit stop.
Let's go.
Here's what I'll say.
Ryan made me a believer.
I appreciate you two trying to sell this so hard to just coddle the fan base for when it actually happens in a month. That maybe some of them will actually be on board.
I know what's going to happen. I know people are going to invoke Pettigrew, Ebron, Hawkinson, and be like, "What the hell is with our Lions doing?" But this is different, baby. It's so different.
Yes. The Lions motto. This is different.
This time it's different.
This time it's different. I mean, it will be fascinating though if the Lions do this, and they are literally the only team in the past 2 decades to have drafted a tight end in the top 10, and they did it 3 times. That's insane. That's why I just want someone else to do it to see if it can work outside of Detroit.
A 2 tight end set, Ryan, Hawkinson and Pitts.
Yeah, way to adopt.
Do you need wideouts?
Modern football, 2 tight ends. That's what I think of when I think of modern football.
It's a new age, baby. You got to usher it in.
No, put Josh Hill out there too. He motions into the backfield.
Dan, 3 tight end set. Dan 13. Campbell was a tight end.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm really afraid of. All right, let's get out of here.
Okay, let's get out of here.
Any more of this talk.
Okay, I promised you guys a surprise before this. We mentioned Mike Rothstein, and if you've listened to the POD cast long enough, you've known Mike Rothstein's been on us. He's a great get every time we talk with him. He's very warm. He's very fuzzy. He lets us make fun of him. So before we say farewell to Mike going to Atlanta, he's going to join us one more time. Join us live on Twitch and YouTube on Wednesday. Do we have a time, Jeremy?
We do, and what do we say? 7, I believe. Let me confirm.
I believe
that real
7
quick.
or 7:30 ET. I know you posted in the Slack.
I believe 7.
7.
Yep, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
7 p.m. Eastern time. Mike Rothstein. This will be our farewell podcast to Mike. Join us in there. We're going to say goodbye to Mike, talk a little bit about the Lions, talk a little bit about the Falcons, and give him some ideas on what he can do in Atlanta, report back on some of the fine dining there. And give
him a proper send-off.
Proper POD cast send-off. And now we send you off into the great beyond here as we close with the Pride of Detroit POD cast. For myself, Chris Perfett, for Jeremy Reisman, for Ryan Matthews, we're out of here. We'll see you next time. We'll see you Starside.
Kyle Pitts at 7.
Pit stop. And we're done.
You guys.
Could be worse. Could be 5 years ago.
Day.
We could be talking about wrestling.
That's a good point. That's a good point. You know what? That's a great point. Way to put it in perspective there. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We've really changed.
I fell into the pit. Andy Dwyer. Yeah, no, I'm not Andy Dwyering it up anytime soon.
The only knock I have on Kyle Pitts is that his name has Pitt in it, which is Pitt.
Does that trigger you too, Ryan, since it has 2 T's in his last name?
No. I only bring it up because I know the University of Pittsburgh, aka Pitt, is never good at anything ever.
Oh yeah, we got to do a listcast really quick.
Yeah, well, real quick, let me get Craig out of here. Giark.
The worst case scenarios here.
Top 3 worst case scenarios. Let's just go with that.
So are we just talking specific player, or are we talking?
I'll get you some specific players.
Okay.
Chris, I don't mean to do this to you.
Uh-oh, what's up? What'd I do?
You're bouncing, aren't you?
No. Oh. No, I'm not.
Oh,
Caleb, he's doing something.
Caleb Farley.
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
It's the back surgery, right? Like that's.
Yeah, that scares me. I don't like when people go underneath the knife and it's back surgery.
Back is a tough injury, man. Tough injury.
Now, if it was the leg, it would be a different story.
That's true. Then he would be a warrior.
I mean, well, every offensive lineman has like a knee brace that they wear, right? Like that's nothing. Or he's a cornerback. I don't know why I'm talking about offensive lineman.
He's a corner. Yeah.
But
I think I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah. Yep. So he's probably number one. Number two, if I'm just kind of scanning over, let's see, nightmare scenarios.
Like I'm thinking as far as guys who I could see going that hot, like in the first round, who are just
you'll
too
agree
early.
with this, Chris. You'll agree with this. Like Parsons, like that would be terrible.
Not ideal. Not ideal. He's probably on as my number one. I don't want to see Parsons. No way, no how.
Najee Harris.
Love you.
Really?
Love that pick.
That's some scubby.
I mean, I was going to put him down fucking mind if they picked a running back.
What? Jeremy's been like, you know what? I kind of like what the new regime's doing. You know, they're doing this, and then it's like Najee Harris. I think Jeremy might quit.
I might quit on the spot and I'd go find Kyle Kasky and be like, hey man, you need something, anything. My good friend Kyle. No.
Let me throw you one too, is that somehow you look at all these wide receivers and like Jamar Chase is off the board and maybe Devonta Smith's off the board and you're like, you're going to pull an audible, but Kyle Pitts is still there. And you agree with Jeremy. He's not a wide receiver. You should go get a wide receiver. In fact, you should get a wide receiver from Florida. You should get Kadarius Toney.
Be a reach. Yeah, I think reaching at wide receiver is better not be an option here because there's so much depth. There's so many athletes. There's so many athletes in this draft period. Not just
Rondale Moore. I don't think I'd be happy with Rondale Moore either.
I love him in the second though. That's the thing. Like,
yeah, I don't think he's falling to the second though. I think he's a mid-first round.
It's possible. The one guy that you guys haven't mentioned that's probably on my list is Mac Jones. At that point, I think you're taking the fifth best quarterback in a class, and that's not good value. Not good value. At that point, maybe just wait till next year.
I think he's fourth, to be honest. For me, I put him above Fields, but yeah, I totally get it.
What do you got against Fields?
When was okay, so we're doing this thing with Alabama quarterbacks where we're like, yeah, they all have way too much else. When was the last time an Ohio State quarterback worked out in recent history? Like they have a scheme there that just they come over to the NFL and it turns to poo. And I'm not, as much as Fields has plenty of talents to him, I just don't believe in it. It's black magic.
Okay.
It'll vanish on the morning sun.
Just draft Kyle Pitts and everything will be okay.
Saying it's a lazy take. Look, I wasn't expecting to get into a Justin Fields debate this late into the show, and I'm overheating a little bit. So sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if I really have any other people to add to my list. Like, I'm not as low on Micah Parsons as everyone. I obviously like the things he's been accused of, like that needs to be checked out thoroughly, and if everything that has been accused he's done, then yeah, he's off my board. But
I believe in the accusations because like I've seen how the coaching staff has responded to this thing. In that the kid who was going to be sexually assaulted pulled a knife, and they thought, oh, you pulling a knife is worse than them trying to sodomize you, which is horrible. And then I saw another Penn State coach was like, yeah, boys will be boys, which is never something you want to hear.
No, that's
I think it's a blight on him. I think it's a blight on Gross Matos, who's also part of these accusations. I don't want anything to deal with that. For the same very personal reasons that are hard for me to speak about. That was why I never enjoyed covering this team when Matt Patricia was its head coach.
I'm gonna go eat dinner.
Yeah, and I think we should probably let the people go watch some men's basketball.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got some men's basketball is starting right now. So
the one thing I will say, and I will
sorry to crater it at the end.
I do want to urge some people on Twitch to stick around. We're going to go raid Alex Reno today, and he has a big giveaway he's doing tonight. He's giving away a like a streamer starting package. I think he's giving away a mic arm, and a stream deck, which is one of these fancy little buttons that allows you to do a whole bunch of fun stuff with your streams. So go over there, head there. If you have questions about how to enter the giveaway, I think he's doing it at about 10 p.m. tonight. Just ask him, or I think ! giveaway will have a whole bunch of details. So if you're here on Twitch, go hang out there. If you're on YouTube, jump over to Twitch and go to twitch.tv/Alex_Reno, and you can go see that. So that's all I got. Anything else that needs to be said before we go?
Go Baylor, go Houston.
I know I've been wanting to get back into streaming myself, so I know at some point, I know Jeremy, we've been talking about it. I am going to try to stream this week, maybe tonight. I don't know. I'm kind of overheating it. I need to get some groceries done, but I know I want to start, like, so I can take some questions. I'll probably do that in personal streams, so check me on Twitter for that. However, I think we are going to start doing
Mock Draft Thursdays.
Mock Draft Thursdays.
Right here on the Twitch channel. And
yeah,
YouTube.
It's not going to be on the podcast, but it's going to be on our streaming platforms. We are going to do Mock Draft Thursdays. We're going to get into that and start. How are we formatting that, Jeremy?
We'll probably have a rotating guests here in terms of POD panel, and then we'll just have like the Draft Network or some mock draft board that you all can see, and we'll probably run through one with just us running through a scenario, and then we're going to have you guys run through a scenario. So we'll put up polls on the Twitch page when the lines are on the clock. You guys are going to make the picks, and we'll go through all 5 rounds because they only have picks in the top 5 rounds. Stuff like that. Yep. It'll be fun, and we'll do that every week going up to the draft. All right. Sounds like that's it.
Good.
All right. So if you do want to stick around and have a chance to win that streaming package, we're about to go raid Alex Reno. If not, be sure to join us Wednesday for that Mike Rothstein podcast. 7 p.m. is what we said. There might also be an additional First Bite podcast with another special guest that we haven't confirmed yet. So just make sure you're subscribed everywhere so you don't miss anything. Simple as that.
First Bite's going to have some great guests coming this month.
Damn straight.
All we're going to say. All
right, y'all. We'll see you soon.
Yep. As Uncle Indigo puts it, who wants to win a big package? Constrictor is saying to Jeremy, it's too nice to dunk on everyone's picks. And with that, we're out.